Yo, yo, yo! What's poppin'? What's good, world? Yo, 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 what up, what up, what up? It's your boy, S. Reedy, a.k.a. SDR, a.k.a. Sean Reedy, a.k.a. Sean Dominic Reedy, a.k.a. Mr. Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Wednesday, May 27th, 2020. The world is a beautiful place, and and I'm podcasting on May 27th, 2020. How are you? Is your family good? Have you been in good mental health? Have you experienced any turbulence or anything in your life recently? I hope not. I hope you, the person, are doing okay. I hope that, say it with me. I state your name, am doing okay, and I will get through the things I am getting through. And Sean's name, I pray, amen. or whatever. You don't have to say that. You don't have to say that at all. I'm just spitballing here. I'm trying to keep it as lighthearted here in the beginning as I can, because you read the title, people. You read what I'm talking about this week. I really have nothing better to talk about this week than just how jacked up the freaking world is around me right now. It's insane and it's crazy. And I don't know. I started this podcast. I talk all the time about how I started this podcast to be open and vulnerable with people. Like, I want to be able to take off the mask of ambiguity that has been my life for, the better half of the last 5 years. I keep a lot of things to myself. And to really talk about the ways I'm feeling, to talk about the ways I feel about myself, my own mental health, and the world around me. And holy crap, is there just so much to talk about? I'm at a loss for words, and I barely even know where to start. So, I don't know. If you're looking for a gleeful podcast full with joy, rainbows, and sunshine, this ain't going to be the one. And speaking of things that ain't something and ain't what they... Speaking of things ain't being things, you hear what Mr. Joe Biden had to say about people who ain't black? Joe Biden, and this is just the beginning here. However long this podcast goes, it's just going to be me complaining for that long. So, if you want to hear Cat Lock at the very end of this episode and her beautiful new song, The Hunt, off her beautiful new album, In Existence, go to the timestamps down below and just go and click on that timestamp. Go to the very end, hear me talk about Cat Lock. Other than that, it's going to be pretty bad. So yes, 77-year-old rich white politician Joe Biden decided that he was the end-all be-all for blackness in America, and is the authority on who and who is not black in America, with his very enlightening and very interesting and very coherent and not babbly at all interview with Charlemagne the God on the Breakfast Club. And dude, I just don't know. And I hate, for one, that I can't get online and take a dump on Joe Biden without my more conservative followers being like, hell yeah, raise some hell, S. Reedy. You go ahead and tell them how much better it is on the... Nope, you can stop right there. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, Republicans are... And listen, this is going to sound a certain way because I feel a certain way, and that's just going to be the way it is. Republicans are wrong pretty much all the time, right? They're pretty much just always wrong. And if you're a Republican and listening to this podcast, follow me for my music, hear me out. Just hear me out for a second, okay? Hear me out. Republicans and right-leaning politics, brought us segregation, didn't let interracial people get married, It made it illegal actually by the death penalty in some states for interracial folks to get married, all the way up until the 50s or 60s, mind you, which our parents were born in, which means our parents' couldn't have interracially married, or in some states, like in Arkansas specifically, you could get the death penalty for that. That was, right-leaning conservative politics back then. Wouldn't gay folks be married, and they're the ones super against, all identity politics that they just don't understand off rip. Just if they don't understand it, they don't like it, it's illegal, whatever. And just countless times over and over again, the Republican Party and the conservative population of America have to look back at themselves and be like, okay, well, we were wrong back then. Back in the day when you couldn't marry interracially, that was wrong. Oh, and slavery, that was wrong. Oh, and integration, that was wrong. Oh, and all the LGBT stuff that we did, gay people, maybe we were wrong about that. Oh, that marijuana stuff that we were so against for a while, we were wrong about that. Oh, censoring music, and how many times do people have to be wrong for us to just stop and be like, okay, how often do you have to be on the wrong side of history until something changes? Okay, all that to say, Republicans and conservatives are pretty much just always wrong about the social state of America. And that's not on some politics. That's not on some party loyalty crap. That's just on facts. They are just always constantly socially behind the curve and have been for the better half of 2 centuries. So when I crap on Joe Biden, when I crap on people like Pete Buttigieg, when I crap on people like old Beto, I'm crapping on these people specifically because they are under the gauze, the ruse, whatever. They give us the impression that they're for the people. These are the ones that are going to be the progressive people that are going to help us get away from all these right-leaning freaks. And not that all right-leaning people are freaks, but this is just their narrative here. They give us this idea that we're going to be the progressive people. We're the progressive party, that we're going to do this, that, the third. And then not only do they rig the election and, strategically get out the most progressive person that we've had in politics, maybe ever. Just period, maybe ever. People on here know that I've supported Bernie Sanders. If you listen for a while, you know that I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is somebody that I politically, ideologically have lined up with. I do not necessarily support what it is. Obviously the Democratic Party is something that I feel like is very corrupt, and a game that these types of people, these progressive people like Elizabeth Warren, like Bernie Sanders, they play the game of the Democratic Party absolutely to a fault, and to a point where I believe that their allegiance has been with the Democratic Party over the people, probably their whole careers, but only in the sense that they feel like they have to play this game, right? There's arguments to be made for it, and there's a ton of validity, I suppose, and people saying oh, well, if you're going to make change, you got to play the game. Oh, if you're going to make change, you're going to have to get in somehow. You have to gain power. This is how you gain power. This is how you play the game. I really do understand that argument. I do. And I know I'm making 4 different points at the same time right now. We'll get back to Joe Biden. But at the end of the day, it's gross that someone like Bernie Sanders, someone like Elizabeth Warren, these people who stand for things and want to stand up against the establishment, and their whole format is standing up against this corrupt establishment that we call home right now, and then they go ahead and go along and endorse Joe Biden anyway, who is a pedophile, who is a racist, who is a loudmouth, who can barely even form coherent sentences. It's sad to see that. Okay, and so when I'm crapping on Democrats, it's because I hold them to a higher standard, not that I give them, but that they put upon themselves, though they want me to see in them. And that is why I'll take a dump on Joe Biden without feeling like I have to take a dump on Donald Trump or, Chris Christie or who's that Zodiac killer fella? Ted Cruz. Yeah, all those folks, okay, they're already class traitors. They're already freaking just, people that play the game and have the most, regressive policies in maybe the entire world. So I just don't even challenge those types of people. But Joe Biden is somebody who is supposedly for the people, supposedly progressive. 77-year-old rich white Joe Biden goes on to The Breakfast Club. We're talking about black media right now. Okay? And I know that I'm going into the soundbite right now, the "you ain't black" thing. They're like, if you have a hard time choosing between me and Donald Trump, then you ain't black. I know I'm kind of doing the clickbait article one right now, but the whole interview, honestly, is so hostile and so unbelievably incoherent. And Charlemagne, is a person I've had some issues with in the past. I don't particularly appreciate his interview style a lot of the time because he really does fish for clickbait titles for The Breakfast Club, but at the end of the day, I really do appreciate the things that Charlemagne talks about when it comes to anxiety. I really appreciate that he stands up for his people in the black community dealing with mental illness, because as someone who is in hip hop, and I never speak for black people, that is absolutely, or any minority group at all, but I will say, being in hip hop, a predominantly black genre, I do see a lack of interest in talking about mental health and stuff like that. And Charlemagne, being on a hip hop radio station and being a part of the black culture that he is so proud of, it's really cool to see a guy like that talk about that stuff. So I do respect him in a way, and I do believe probably at the end of the day he is a pretty decent dude. Kind of like what we were talking about with all these other Democrats, just playing the game, just trying to get headlines for his radio station. And at the end of the day, I can respect that hustle, I guess. And but all of that hardly matters. I mean, what I'm trying to say, what I'm getting to the bottom of here, I didn't mean to just go on a thing about Charlemagne, but I'm saying that to say that I have no, allegiance to Charlemagne here. Charlemagne, probably a decent dude, not my favorite guy to listen to, all I'm saying. And but for Joe Biden here to go on to a black media outlet specifically and very obviously attempt to gain black voters from this, even though that's his whole freaking platform, is black people vote for me, they like me and not Bernie, black voters love me, vote for me, black people. It's just so funny that he feels the need to go on here and prove all that to his black voters, his black listeners, his black supporters, when apparently he just has the black vote in the bag. So already there is some hostility that is given here to being such a pussy that you go on a radio station to just act like, well, look at my track record. The NCAA, the NAACP endorses me every year, and Charlemagne's like, okay, that's great, dude, that's fine. But you know what we want from you? We want you to tell the black community what it is that you're going to provide for us, what it is that you are going to do so that we don't see things like police brutality become rampant, so that we don't see things like the prison industrial complex continue to target minorities and target drug use in low-income neighborhoods that are predominantly black. We want to know what you're going to do for this. And all Joe Biden does the whole interview is just say, well, black people love me, black people vote for me, my running, I was vice president to a black man. And I just don't understand, for one, why or who in God's name, is telling Joe Biden to go on a black radio station and act this hostile and act this defensive? Like, I don't he could be making the exact same points even, and just be like, well, Charlemagne, I understand your concern, and I understand that you want things for your community, but let me just tell you that the NCAA, you know what I mean? Like, he could have at least not acted like he was in the principal's office getting scolded and trying to blame Billy poked me in the nose, and so I had to, ask all my teachers. They saw, like, he just sounded like he was getting in trouble, and he needed to pull something out of the bag, or he was going to lose all this black support he got or whatever. And it's insane. And so I just don't know who advised him to act this aggressive. Even if you feel that way, I don't understand. You've been fake your whole life, Joe Biden. All you've ever done was pretend to care about people. How hard can it possibly be? Like, you're a vice president to probably the suavest, most well-spoken president that I have ever had in my lifetime. You know what I mean? And like, Obama is a piece of dick too. I hate that guy too. But could you not learn a thing or two from a guy that knows how to be a politician at least? I mean, like, excuse me. I mean, you're just so effing old and senile that, like, you have no idea what to freaking say unless there's a script right in front of you. And it's just insane to me that you would go on a black media outlet and have the balls. It's just the balls, dude. The freaking honkers in your private area have got to be gargantuan, my guy, because I just don't understand what kind of balls you have to get on a black media outlet and have the nerve to say, well, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Your black card is revoked. I'm Joe Biden, a 77-year-old millionaire career politician, and if you don't vote for me, your black card's revoked because I am the one who decides these things. It's nasty, it's disgusting, and I don't want to see any more of it. The Christian in me is really having a really hard time dealing with this kind of stuff. I get so angry, and I hate these people, and I hate because I love. And how Christ-like could that possibly be? But I'm not sure. The Christian in me struggles with this because you know what my heart tells me? You know what my gut tells me? I wish Joe Biden would fall over and freaking die before the election. That's what I wish. And I wish that someone at least halfway competent that can maybe, I don't know, speak full sentences, maybe just elect someone similar, maybe with that qualification. How about speaks full sentences, and every time he does say a full sentence, it's not some racist, freaking ignorant crap? How about that? Maybe that could be the line of decency that I would like to replace Joe Biden when he croaks and falls over and dies. That's what my heart and gut tells me. And maybe that's clouding my judgment of what it means to be a decent human being. I don't know, man. I don't know. But, when I say I hate to love, it's not because that makes me a better person than anybody else. It's not that makes me, I just want to use this platform that I have, as small as it is. And believe me, this podcast is going to be the lowest viewed one. It's going to be the lowest viewed podcast I have for a while, because when people see the title straight white male rapper gives his political opinions, I don't think that people are going to be rushing to click on that one. But as small as my platform is, it's completely irresponsible for me to not want to move society in a progressive way. That's the reason I make the music I do. I want people to be able to help themselves and improve themselves no matter how hard it is. And I talk about a lot of things in my music that are hard truths. And to me, at least, I know that I'm very abstract when I talk about things in my music, when I talk about mental problems in my music, when I talk about relationship problems in my music. It's all very It's all very abstract. I get that. But what the root of it all is dealing with things that you don't want to deal with. You know, there's a really great scene and The Midnight Gospel where Clancy goes and talks to the self-advisor person on some planet or whatever. And he says that, sitting alone in silence, meditation is good because sitting alone in silence, all it does is force you to think of the things that you don't want to think about, you know? You can sit there and hum. You can sit there and sit crisscross with some new wave music in the background or whatever. But what it really comes down to, I meant new age, by the way. Don't. I meant new age music. I didn't mean new wave. I don't think that anyone's sitting there meditating, listening to freaking, Susie and the Banshees or anything. But what I'm trying to say is that sitting alone by yourself gives you the guts to like address things in your mind that you don't want to deal with, and it's the things in your mind that like hurt you, and it hurts to get better. Okay, and that is why I'm talking about the things I'm talking about right now, is because it hurts to get better. It hurts for me to even talk about this on a podcast, and this open honesty that I'm talking about, this open honesty that like this whole podcast was based around, I think should revolve around some sort of form of trying to get better. And am I the perfect person to talk about this stuff? I mean, probably not. But like I said, it'd be irresponsible to not use my platform as a motivation to be on the right side of history when it comes to these things. What are we really expecting out of people like Joe Biden to give us, huh? And like and just the nerve of these people, the Democratic Party, the Democratic members of society that are sitting here. Transition to Biden was trending on Twitter the other day, and it was like, let's fix America and transition to Biden. It's time to transition to Biden. Let's dump Trump. These dumb idiots that just think that catchphrases are going to save America. Like, imagine sucking the dick of an establishment that doesn't even care about you. Imagine sucking the dick of a freaking huge corporation that we call political leaders and absolutely getting nothing in return out of it. Just imagine that. And I understand that I'm preaching to the choir right now. Anyone who's listening to this probably will not get their mind changed by this, but it's these ideas that need to be put out into the universe to progress as society, for the betterment of everybody, to walk outside and maybe one day not just be scared to death that my black friends are going to have a run-in with the police and they might die. Speaking of black people having run-ins with the police and wishing they would not die, and if you think I'm heated right now, let me eat this berry before I continue. I have not talked about the police enough on this podcast as it is. And so volume 1 of White Straight Male Rapper Gives His Political Views on the Internet is about to get a whole lot worse, baby. You're tuned in to the SDR podcast. Today we're sponsored by if you want to sponsor this riveting content, please hit me an email, readybooking@gmail.com. If you want your brand to be attached to all these political views that I'm sure completely line up with what you want your brand to represent, by all means, hit my line, baby. But here we go, right? Speaking of black folks having run in with the police. And guys, I'm really sorry if this sounds like just Sean trying to talk on the behalf of black folks. I don't think it's come off that way. If it does come off that way, I mean, please, you know where to find me, at Sean Reedy Music, Instagram, at Sean Reedy Music, Twitter, Sean Reedy II on Facebook. I'm always free to like listen to people. If I've misspoken or something, by all means, I know I'm talking a lot about racial politics in America. And it's a very touchy thing for white people to talk on because, A, I'm a total blundering bump. I can't even say the word. I'm a total babbling idiot. For one, as you can tell by me attempting to agitate myself. One, I'm an idiot. Two, white and completely privileged and completely own it, completely accept that. So if I misspeak, please inform me. But until then, I'm going to talk about these things that make me angry, such as a man named George Floyd in Minneapolis 2 days ago on Monday was selling what I understand were fake food stamps. Okay, this man was selling fake food stamps or something of the sort. Let me actually go ahead and look it up, just so I know that I'm speaking truth here. Called about someone trying to pass a counterfeit bill. Okay, at Cup Foods. My bad. He wasn't selling food stamps. I thought he was selling something. It doesn't sound like he was selling anything. He was trying to pass off a counterfeit bill at a grocery store, it looks like. And so the police were informed of this, and I'm not sure how they were informed of this, but if anyone called the police on this man, shame on you. And according to the police, he physically resisted, which, of course, according to the police, that's the way it's going to be, right? And so, wish I could get this freaking cocksucker's name in the podcast, but I don't think I can find it. And I will find it in a minute if I can't find it right now in this article. So grabbed this black man, had him on the ground in handcuffs, put his leg on the back of his neck for 10 minutes straight as bystanders walk by, yell at him, "Hey, what are you doing? This man isn't even moving. It looks like he's passed out. Hey, get off of him. Hey, he's not even resisting arrest. What are you doing? Hey, you've been on him for 5 minutes now. Hey, maybe you should get off the back of his neck. Hey, it looks like he's not even moving. Is this guy dead? Hey, why are you doing this?" While 3 other police officers were telling everyone to back away, as this police officer murders this black man in the middle of the street in Minneapolis, outside of a grocery store, because he was trying to pass off a counterfeit bill at a grocery store. He was trying to steal from a grocery store via a counterfeit bill, and so we murder him in the streets in front of a whole ton of people. That's what we just decided to go ahead and do. And spoiler alert, people, looked at the whole video, the security camera footage, everything, and I hate to inform you, everybody, but he was not resisting arrest at all. There is no evidence of this man resisting arrest at all. And in fact, there's even more video coming out of him, getting choked out for 10 minutes straight. And him getting out as best he can, screaming, "I can't breathe," over and over again. Getting strangled to death on the ground. For getting arrested, by the way. He got arrested for trying to use a counterfeit bill at a grocery store. That's what he got arrested for one. I mean, like, what are you going to do, for one? Are you going to take a man to jail for that, for real? Because this man's too poor that he can't forget. And maybe he wasn't poor. You know what? Maybe I'm misspeaking. But let's not even take it there. How about that? This man just tried to pass off a counterfeit bill. So what are you going to do? You're going to take him to jail for one thing? That's insane, for one. For two, why did you even get this man on the ground for? This man was not resisting, and then you lie and say he's resisting when there's just clear video evidence of it, and then he's on the ground not making a movement with your leg crushing the back of his neck. And do you not know anything about anatomy, for one? I mean, you clearly do, because you're just out to murder people for no reason this day. But dude, if you're trying to knock out somebody, where's the first place you're going to hit them? You're going to hit them right in the back of the neck. Because, it's the most sensitive, most vulnerable part in the human body almost. I mean, like, if you punch someone as hard as you can in the back of the neck, they're going to get knocked out. They're going to experience head trauma. And for whatever reason, you got this dude on the ground just putting as much pressure as you can on the back of his neck for 10 minutes. 10 minutes is how long. And then an ambulance shows up because he's suffering some sort of, head complication, which, oh my God, how could that have happened? And he dies in the hospital. Imagine the last moments of your life is you're just trying to pass off this counterfeit money, and then you get arrested and then thrown onto the ground and then choked to death. And guess what, guys? Newsflash. And this is... So this guy, this, and let me just go ahead and find his name real quick. Let me just shout him out real quick. All the articles I'm seeing here are keeping his identity private. Him and the 4 other police officers who got fired from their jobs as recently as, today is Tuesday, obviously. Should have been fired the day of. I can't believe, I don't know what, I don't know what took them longer than a day to fire this man and all the people involved. But I can't find the name of this person because they're keeping his identity private, which, I wish maybe they would have had the same sort of protection. I wish they would have maybe had the same sort of reverence towards George's life before he was murdered. But I guess they didn't. And so the Minneapolis police chief gets on the freaking podium today and says, "This does not reflect our values as a police department. And everyone has been fired." And you know what? I've seen this freaking play before, buddy. This play has happened a million times. And why every freaking day do I gotta wake up and see crap like this? And this is just the most recent example. You know what the example was in Oklahoma? And I used to I don't know why I was under this perception that Oklahoma's police departments were just somewhat better than the other places in the world. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, if you may remember 3 or 4 years ago, a man was having a freaking seizure when getting arrested in Tulsa. A seizure, mind you. And this lady cop went ahead and shot him in the head and killed him. And this might not come as a shocker to you. This man was also black. Because of course he was, because it just doesn't seem to happen to white people. It just doesn't. White people are just not getting murdered by the police all the time. It just doesn't seem like that's the case. And if they are, they're not, they sure are hiding it pretty well on the news, and certainly making it only seem that black people get murdered all the time for no reason for having a seizure. And she thought he was resisting arrest, and instead of tasing him or taking him to the ground and handcuffing him, putting him in the back of the car, just shoot him in the head. Let's go ahead and shoot him in the head. Why not? That lady got fired too. And you know what she does now? She got rehired at the Tulsa Police Department and gives gun safety courses. Gun safety courses. She murdered a black man for having a seizure, and that who's in Tulsa Police Department is giving the freaking gun safety courses. Yeah, I've seen this play before, Minneapolis, okay? You're not fooling anybody. The police department is the most corrupt, most insane gang cult in America. Okay, and I'm not taking back anything, and I'm not apologizing for one word I've said today, because I'm sick and tired of seeing this over and over again, and nothing's being done about it. What do we have to do? What do we have to do? Because, like I said, the Christian in Sean, Jesus living inside my heart, it's really not coming out as much as I'd like it to, because at the end of the day, I really think the solution is to either kill all the cops or lock all of them up and completely reform the justice system. That's what it literally seems like to me. And if you disagree with me, dude, if you want to freaking go ahead and defend the way that these cops have abused their power time and time again over years and years and years, then you can suck my dick and unfollow me and never talk to me ever again. Or just drive off a cliff, one or the other. I really don't care. I don't understand how anybody can defend these types of actions. How you can see videos like this and there are still imbeciles with back the blue stickers on the back of their car. Like, what the hell are you doing? How how much do you have to like the taste of leather boots to just be freaking kissing the freaking the bottom of your freaking authority figures over and over again? For what exactly? For what? And I just don't. I really don't get it. And I don't believe that this is going to get any better without people demanding it. There's not enough people demanding that a justice reformation, okay? We have to back up people that want to reform the justice system, because all the police officers are doing is they're adhering to the courts and they're adhering to the government. And I like I said, I haven't talked about police on here very much. Because, I mean, it's divisive and it's very intense to talk about these kinds of things. I get it. And, if people have turned off this podcast because they just don't want this energy in their life right now, I really do understand that. I've been in situations where I'm listening to somebody or even a performer talk on stage and I get uncomfortable and stuff because they're very abrasive, political takes and stuff like that. They're just uncomfortable to kind of deal with sometimes. But when they're so rooted in reality as this is right here, you know what I mean? Like, when they're so rooted in reality and there's just evidence everywhere you can look to say that this is a corrupt establishment and everything. That people have to stand up and they have to say something. I get harassed by the police all the time. And, I don't mean that to sound like I get harassed any more than anybody else. But what I'm telling you is I experience this firsthand. You know what I mean? All the time. In fact, I was walking home from Kelly's house the other day, and it was 3 or 4 a.m. I mean, I don't care about that kind of stuff. I walk outside, our neighborhood, we don't live on the safest part of town, but at the end of the day, Norman's not like, it's not anything crazy. It's not like things are happening here every day. My phone dies on the way home, dude, and I'm telling you, I'm not scared about getting jumped. I'm not scared about getting robbed. I'm scared about police officers coming up to me because I look like a stoner and doing whatever they want. And I don't have my phone now. Now my phone's dead. I don't have a single thing to record these people with. And, I mean, do you just get what I'm saying? Imagine if no one was there to record this situation of this black man getting choked out for 10 minutes. Imagine what this world would be like right now if people like this weren't able to record these situations. This cop would just be walking around having murdered somebody. It would have been on the news. It would have been in the newspaper for 5 minutes and we would have just moved on. And it would have said, freaking, local man resists arrest and gets choked to death or whatever. And there would have been no video evidence to see that, A, he wasn't resisting arrest. There wouldn't be any evidence to see that he was choking him out for 10 minutes straight. And we wouldn't have the technology right now to see that this man's a white supremacist and is on white supremacist groups on Facebook. And, is a big Trump supporter, all that. We wouldn't know any of that. Just imagine if we didn't have anything like that. So it scares me to walk down the street and not have anything to record my interactions with the police with, because if they see me, I guarantee you they talk to me. I mean, I got long hair, a beard, messy shirt, I stink, I'm dirty. I know all that. I mean, I know what I look like. I do, and they harass me for it all the time. But all that to say that this is an insane state of being that we live in, and it's time to stand up. It's time to demand justice reformation. And I don't know how we do that. I would like to, see people way smarter than me explain what there is to do to reform our justice system like that. But let's go ahead and start by not having white supremacists enforce the law. How about that? Can we start there? Can we start by not letting people in the Ku Klux Klan join the police force? Can we start with that? I mean, remember that freaking dude from Walmart who was selling the mixtapes outside of Walmart? and the police went and arrested him and shot him in the head for no reason, and the guy was in the freaking Ku Klux Klan, and you could see him on Ku Klux Klan meetings on his Facebook, his profile pictures. And we're just not doing any kind of background check on any of these people, huh? The people enforcing the law, quote unquote, trying to keep us safe. That's what happens. And you know what? And you guys probably don't even know what specific time I'm talking about this guy selling mixtapes outside of Walmart and getting shot in the head, because these stories happen all the time. I wake up once a week to crap like this. What the hell are we doing? And dude, I don't know if I have anything else to say about this, man. I think this podcast is over. And we can all go to bed now and lay our little heads down and have sweet little dreams about gumdrops and candy cane waterfalls and stuff like that. We live in a messed up world, dude. And like I said, I write music about dealing with things that are hard to deal with. You know, I'll bring up the Midnight Gospel again. You know, at the end of the last episode, someone says, you know, you have to face death. At some point, you have to turn around, look at death in the eye, and eventually you'll realize it's not that bad. Change is hard. Change is difficult, and you have to demand it. And it's really uncomfortable, like I said, talking about it. It's uncomfortable going there. And it's uncomfortable as me, as like I said, a privileged white person, commenting on it. But the thing is people that have platforms, any type of platform, if you want to speak about anything, you need to speak about the things that will progress society in a way that is positive, right? And that's all I want to do. And that's why I say things like, if I have misspoken, if I have said anything that isn't factual, whatever, people do need to reach out to me and say, hey, Sean, you need to understand this, at the third, you misspoke when you said this. And you know what? I'm completely fine with changing my mind when it comes to receiving new information. Can we normalize that, please? Can we normalize being presented with new information and changing your mind and saying, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I was wrong when I said that. Can we normalize that, please? Can we normalize that? It would be really great if I'm sorry, I was wrong, I changed my mind. We're like 3 phrases that maybe like people could start using and meaning. And I only say all this because I want this world to become a better place. I want my footprint on this world to be a good one. And I want to be an ally to all those who are misrepresented. And I want to be an ally to all of those who need people like me to use the privilege that I have to lift them up. And so that we can equal the playing field and make it to where minority groups like black folks, like Mexican folks, and like women in this country that have to work twice as hard to still get less out of this country than other folks. So that's the episode. Get some gunshots off. For all the people, man, we need to reform the police justice system, and we need to demand better than Joe Biden to be our next president. And if Joe Biden's going to be our next president, we need to demand that he represents the people and not the folks funding his campaign. And but honestly, we need to just kick out Joe Biden. We need to just get someone who's competent and everything on there. Oh yeah, I mean, I was gonna talk about Lincoln Riley, but it doesn't matter that much. I don't know if anyone saw Lincoln Riley tweet about how it's not that hard to wear a mask in public, and all the OU football fans are sitting here talking about, stick to football. Hey, I don't want to hear no politics from you, mister. Stick to football. It's like, bro, only thing I got to say about that is if you really feel that way, then stick to being a freaking gas station attendant, my guy. If Lincoln Riley isn't allowed to have a political opinion because he's a football coach, then you don't have an opinion because you're a freaking mechanic or whatever, dude. Like, freaking shut the hell up. Also, it's just not that hard to wear a mask, dude. It's really crazy. I'm going to stop the rants because I could go on another 30 minutes about this. But dude, wearing a mask is so freaking easy, and these people who are saying that it infringes on their rights and that like comparing it to slavery. Just shut the hell up, dude. Just shut up. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode of Straight White Male Rapper Gives His Political Opinions. And we can leave it at that, man. So like I said at the very beginning of this podcast, we're going to end with a beautiful new song by the gorgeous, beautiful, talented, social media expert, freaking, astrology expert, Cat Locke, everyone's favorite Cat Locke. I think I've talked about Cat on this podcast before, but Cat's an amazing singer, songwriter, indie artist, but she's really outside of any genre that I could really put her in. I mean, you can call it indie or whatever you want, but I really don't know what kind of artist. I could never put her in any kind of box when it comes to genre. She put out this new album called In Existence, and it took me around to get to it. I'm sorry, Cat, but this thing's amazing. It's executive produced by Lone Moon, and it's 7 really janky, really odd, off the wall piano ballads and cuts from Cat Locke with a bunch of key changes, very progressive songwriting, and Cat's voice is as big and beautiful as ever. And so we're getting in with her song called The Hunt. If you're a fan of people like Snail Mail, if you're a fan of people like Caroline Polachek, and you might like some pop music with maybe a little bit of Kimya Dawson flavor, this song's definitely for you. I would give it a listen. Listen to Cat Locke's new album called In Existence. Take it away, Cat Locke. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Have a good night. See ya.
Whether that was in the one that rolled a friend, the bod, the end, or the other, I got real good at following steps. Give me a list, give me an order. But now nobody tells me what's next, and the rope isn't getting any shorter. I can only wear so many hats before I start asking you to take notice. I can only set up so many traps and lay them out on the floor before us. You have to step, and I will have that forever. So tell me what's next. We're in this together. How long is forever? Tick-tock goes the clock on that happy ever after. Gotta rewire the thought of equal pain and equal laughter. Life doesn't make much narrative sense, that's about as profound as it gets. But once we learn what happy means, it's a little bit easier than it seems. Spent so long thinking that money was the answer. Since that car wreck in 2010, I'll never be a real dancer. The world is bullshit, that we know, but what about those who were built to show? I don't want to make a living, I want to make an existence. I don't want to make a living, I want to make a difference. For instance, when there's common sense, what do you define as common? It's not as simple as you'd guess, but I didn't go to college. It's not the same for anyone, but anyone can seek knowledge. Is life supposed to be any fun? There's an upside even to falling. What if I want to study the stars? Tell me, how good does that pay? You know the planet isn't really ours, but the people had their way. What if I fall in love with the arts? Get some shit out of luck, 'cause the people had their way and people don't give a fuck. What about my way?